What's up, everybody? It's your boy David. Today I've got another old school monster build for you, the Catoblepus. This is another classic mythological creature that's made its way into modern gaming. Personally, I wanted to make one for a D&D Theros campaign. Also, I've got a few channel updates to go over, but I'll put those at the end of the video. So, let's get right to the build. This build is going to be similar to some of my earlier monster builds on this channel. Our starting point is going to be a handful of dollar store toy animals. This is still one of my favorite ways to easily get monster parts on the cheap. Now, the Catoblepus is supposed to be similar to a water buffalo, or some versions have a cow who has been cursed with a long neck and a heavy head. So, the various parts I'm going to be using on this build are the body of a cow, the long neck of a giraffe, and some miscellaneous bits from dinosaurs to make it a bit more monstrous. First, we've got assembly and sculpting. I'm sticking with this channel's humble beginnings here. It's been a while since I've sculpted with baking soda and superglue, but that's always something fun to do. In addition to filling in gaps and adding general texture, if you're careful on how you apply the superglue, you can also add mass selectively to individual muscle groups. I mostly did that on the legs here to beef up this already beefy boy. I wanted the head to look vaguely bovine, but still a bit foreign and uncanny. So I removed the top half of the cow's head and replaced it with parts from one of the dinosaur models. The teeth and horns were made by bulking up sections of fork tines and cocktail fork tines. I then attached the head to the body and started working on the general shape of the base. As with many of my monsters, I used an oversized checker piece for the base and hot glued on several layers of foam core stacked together. Now, rather than texturing the foam core with foil, like I normally would, I decided to try out the hot glue texturing method I used previously on my stalagmite builds. This worked just as well on the XPS foam as it did on the squishy foam hair rollers previously. Just make sure if you're going to try this that you do it at low temperature so you don't melt the foam with the tip of the glue gun. I also used the glue gun at this point to sculpt some longer fur texture on the back of the Catoblepus. To secure the beastie to the base, I drilled slots to stick toothpick tips into its feet, and then glued those and pushed them into the rock base. I applied a layer of black magic base coat as a primer, and then to try something new I've been experimenting with, I dry brushed the entire miniature with a bright titanium white before moving on to adding color. If you're in the miniature painting space on YouTube, you may have seen Marco do a video about painting in grisaille, which is essentially what I'm doing here. I'll put a link down in the description to the video where he goes over that if you want some more information from a more artistic perspective. What I'm going to be doing here is just going over the technique more for its uses as a speed painting tool. With the white paint on the miniature, we've already got nice starting highlights and shadows. It's easy to go over that with either a GW contrast paint like Marco does, or with an artist ink like I do here. The biggest difference between the two is how the highlights are going to look at this point. An artist's ink will stain the white but leave it much brighter, whereas a contrast paint will apply more color over even the highlight. I personally like this effect for a base coat when speed painting, because it allows for a very light dry brush color to be applied next. After that, I simply lightened up the model with successive dry brushes. I inked the fur darker again with another artist ink, and then dry brushed that up lighter as well. At this point, the whole miniature got a light army painter wash to add a bit of contrast, and I did a final few brushes on the fur and the horns to make the tone stand out more against the body. The base was painted in a similar fashion with grays and a bit of flesh tones for the highlight, and then I applied some bright yellow for the eyes. I decided to add some flocking to the rock base, a mixture of my normal coffee grounds and tea leaves with a bit of Italian seasoning mixed. This gives that nice dirty woodland look. A few mossy vines and a quick dusting of my favorite pigments finished off the job. And that's it for sculpting a Catoblepus. It was a lot of fun to play with some of my older techniques, especially with the added perspective of almost a year on this channel. While I've been having a lot of fun crafting more terrain recently, I'm glad to be working on some creatures. Also, quick channel update. The short and sweet videos that I do definitely are not favored by the YouTube algorithm, but YouTube has recently launched something called YouTube Shorts. I've been dark the past few weeks because I've been updating my old builds into a format for YouTube Shorts, as well as getting a head start on my 2021 mega project. I'm not certain yet how the YouTube Shorts are going to show up on your dashboard. That's something they're still experimenting with and I haven't worked with much. But over the next couple weeks here, I'm going to be uploading shortened versions of all of my build videos for that format. If you like to watch YouTube on your phone, this is especially going to be a great way to check out all of my builds in a very condensed format. If that doesn't sound like your cup of tea, though, I will be labeling the thumbnails for all of these shorts, so even if they do show up on your normal dashboard, you can choose whether or not you want to watch them. Thanks for watching, everybody, and until next time, stay safe, sane, and crafty, and I'll see you in the next build.